Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Midweek Online. My name is Josh and I'm the youth pastor here at Lifepointe Youth. And man, we are just so excited that you are here for this episode. I'm super pumped about the word and we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. Have you guys ever been in a situation or been in going through something and somebody gives you a piece of advice that's both the most true thing that you've ever heard, but it's also super frustrating? I know there's been a saying that a lot of us have heard in difficult times, difficult situations, that it's all in God's timing. And that could be so frustrating to hear because it's not what we want and it's not in the way that we want it. But so many times we see it to be true. That when we wait and when we understand God's timing, it actually proves to offer peace and offer comfort and offer understanding as we talk and build our relationship with God. And so I want to read tonight out of a book. It's actually my favorite book of the Bible. It's Habakkuk. It's an Old Testament prophetic book. Habakkuk was a prophet for Judah, and basically Judah is about to be judged by God, and they're going to be taken over by this nation of Babylon. And Habakkuk is asking why God would allow Babylon to be taking over Judah, because on a scale of like who's worse, Judah was far better and in far better shape than Babylon. And so Habakkuk wasn't understanding. And so he was asking God, hey, what are you doing here? So this is what he says in verse 12 and 13 of chapter 1, and then we'll get into chapter 2. This is what he says. He says, Lord, are you not from everlasting? My God, my Holy One, you will never die. You, Lord, have appointed them to execute judgment. You, my rock, have ordained them to punish. Your eyes are too pure to look on evil. You cannot tolerate wrongdoing. Why then do you tolerate the treacherous? Why are you silent while the wicked swallow up those more righteous than themselves? You see, I think what happens with Habakkuk here is that he has such a knowledge of who God was that it actually caused nearsightedness. In the same way, our knowledge of God, us understanding who he is and understanding his character and his nature, can actually cause short-sightedness and for us to read our own view of how things should be going into the story that God is trying to craft and create. Habakkuk was basically, he knew so much about God that this situation that he was going in made no sense to him. He was unable to see what God was doing in the background because he had an idea of who God was and what he was supposed to be doing. You see, Habakkuk felt like what was happening was not aligning with the way that God presented himself. He knew God to be a certain way, and this was not lining up with it. How could God stand silent and inactive before these horrible people that were about to take them over? I think that we need the reminder that only focusing in on the short term and only focusing in on the knowledge that we think we have can actually allow us to miss the significance of what God is doing on the larger scale. We allow ourselves and our knowledge of God, these good things, reading your Bible, praying, your relationship with him, to actually put God in a box. And that is where we don't want to be. We don't want to allow these things that God has given us as tools to know him and understand him more and build a relationship with him. We don't want to allow those tools to then distract us and put God in a box and go, you have to act the way that you are according to what I know you to be. You see, what we see, what we experience, and what we read sometimes doesn't align up in our minds, and we resort to actually calling out God. And we can't do that because God is infinite. God knows more than anything that we could ever see or understand. Despite not knowing what was going on and questioning what God was doing, Habakkuk never went to attack God. And so many times we just resort to attacking God and going after him because you're not doing what I said, or you're not doing the thing that I know you to be doing. I don't understand this. And so we start attacking him. Come to God with your questions, but don't come ready to attack. You have to be open to what God is willing to show us and reveal to us and explain to us. I liken it to this. If it doesn't make any sense, I liken it to this. If you are dealing with a piece of technology from 1983, right? If you're trying to use floppy disks today in your new computer, you're probably not gonna have very much luck. If you're still using a flip phone and wondering why you can't download the latest apps, you're probably very confused as to why that's going. You can look at the piece of technology that is old and outdated and say, yeah, but I remember this, and I know that the phone or the computer or the memory card or whatever, I know that it does this thing. But technology is advancing, technology is changing, and there's a larger scale that maybe you're not aware of. Maybe we have that, we all have that grandparent who is trying to understand technology and trying to get it, and they're using what they know from like when technology was like first really advancing, and they take this knowledge that they had then and they try to apply it to today, and it doesn't really work out. This is what God is doing for us when we allow ourselves to be open. We're not stuck in thinking that we know more than we do. I want to read in chapter 2. This is the Lord's response right after Habakkuk has now said this. This is what it says. It says, the Lord replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it lingers, wait for it. It will certainly come, and it will not delay. See, the enemy is puffed up. His desires are not upright. But the righteous person will live by his faithfulness. Indeed, wine betrays him. He is arrogant and never at rest, because he is as greedy as the grave, and like death is never satisfied. He gathers himself all the nations and take captive all the people. See what God was basically saying, to summarize it in one short phrase: just wait, have patience. You see, Habakkuk needed patience to be able to see God's plan. In the same way, we need to have patience so that God can actually reveal his plan in his timing, and we don't jump ahead of what God is trying to do. Anytime God asks us to do something, we always want to know the question of when. And sometimes God's answer to that is to wait, is to actually sit and wait. And that can be so frustrating, because when we hear something or when we know something, we want to just go. And maybe sometimes that's not what's here. At least that's what happened with Habakkuk. God is like, hey, I'm going to take care of it, but you just have to wait. God reminded the prophet about the certainty of the message, but he didn't confirm the timing. And he didn't tell him that it was going to be in the timing that Habakkuk thought was right. You see, as a matter of fact, long after Habakkuk's lifetime, in 538 BC, that's when Babylon fell to Persia. Modern society seems so much more complex and seems so much more crazy in all of this, but we read and we see that God's faithfulness doesn't change. Even when things might seem like they're taking a long time, even when it seems like it's not convenient for us, God is working in the middle of it. It's like this: if you're ever trying to plan a surprise party for somebody, you're ever trying to plan any sort of surprise and they're always trying to ruin it, they're the worst kinds of people, right? And it's just like, dude, let me do this thing for you and stop questioning me. I have a story about this. I got it wrong last night in youth, and so I'm going to try to tell it right here. But basically, my wife, we were dating, and we had just gotten back from a photo shoot that looked like an engagement shoot. And I was so happy with the pictures. I was super excited about showing them off and showing my girlfriend, then my fiance, and then my wife. I was so excited about showing her off, right? And it was awesome. And so we looked at all these pictures, and everybody all approached my wife, Macy, and they said, oh, this is amazing. You guys are engaged. Where's the ring? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, I'm not engaged. Well, they look like engagement photos. And so we were on a date the next day. This is like literally 2 days, like 48 hours before I'm about to propose to my wife. And she goes, I don't understand. And I'm like, what? She's like, do you even still love me? Do you even understand? Like, what are we doing here? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I just thought we would be engaged by now. You see, I had one rule that I told her, and that was you have to meet my family as well as me meeting hers before I would ever propose. And so we had done that in January, and now this is like February. And Macy's like, I don't understand. I don't understand why this is going on. Would you please just let me know? Like, do you even want to do this? anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm freaking out. And the only thing I could tell her was just wait. I'm like, just wait, I promise. And she's like, I need to know, do you want to marry me? I'm questioning myself right now. Do you want to do this? I'm like, please, just wait. Now, 48 hours later, it's service, and I proposed at the end of the service, and I literally whispered into her ear. I was like, I told you, just wait, I promise. And we laugh about it now because literally she was so distraught and so worried about this so quickly, or so close to this thing actually happening. I think if we want to do this, though it may seem like it's an agonizingly long time, we just have to wait. We just have to wait. God knows for us and he cares for us. He knew Habakkuk's situation. He knew Judah's situation. He was not going to let anything happen to them outside of what he wanted to happen. The answer is not to reject God. The answer is not to disconnect him from our history, but to actually just wait for his timing. Sometimes we don't understand why God is doing what he's doing, but there's a purpose and there's a reason behind it. Sometimes all we have to do is just wait. Thank you guys so much for watching tonight. I appreciate you so much. Make sure to shoot us a DM on Facebook or Instagram at LPAZ Youth. We'd love to connect with you. If you want prayer for anything, shoot us a DM, text us, email us, call us, do whatever you have to do. We would love to be able to just join in prayer with you. And as always, follow us on our social media, LPAZ Youth, or Lifepointe Youth Prescott Valley on YouTube. We would love to connect with you. We would love to be able to follow you, see what you're doing, and then make sure that you also send this episode out to your friends or somebody who you think might need it. We would love to connect with new people as well. And I'm so excited about this weekend. I think it's going to be an amazing time at church. Can't wait to see you on Sunday for our discipleship groups. I hope that you guys have an incredible weekend. Later.